Welcome on the show, the creator, writer and director of the Nativity film series, Debbie Isitt, who more recently wrote and directed Netflix's Christmas on Mistletoe Farm and the musical I Should Be So Lucky.
I was literally watching my daughter's nativity play in her primary Catholic school, and the children were just hilarious. They were just making me laugh, and I just thought, this is a great idea for a movie.
How do you feel about Nativity becoming such a central part of Christmas traditions for some people in the UK, with people watching it year in, year out?
I mean, it feels amazing. We went on Christmas Eve actually to the local Odeon just to watch it, and people were crying, and really moved. So I thought, okay, there's proper feeling from an audience. This isn't a flippant thing. They really care about this film.
And all the songs sparkle and shines. Did you ever expect that success of it?
No, I mean, absolutely not. I don't think I've ever said this before, but I'd written...
So, welcome on the show, Debbie Isitt. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you, Ethan. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, if people don't know who you are, explain to them what you do.
I'm a writer and a director, primarily for film, television and theatre. Create my own work, also write songs and music. Best known probably for the Nativity Christmas film and the whole franchise, which there are 4 Christmas films. But I've done lots of film, telly and theatre. That's me.
Yeah. So let's go right back to the start. So what was your childhood like?
My childhood, what was it like? It was a long time ago. Well, that's a big question, isn't it? That's a whole 560-page book, autobiography, which I haven't written yet. And I probably never will. Yeah, I was born in Birmingham, in the West Midlands. And I was born into a working class family, I suppose you would say. I went to a Catholic primary school because we were Roman Catholic, brought up that way. My 2 sisters, mum and dad. And yeah, it was, quite a nice childhood, I suppose. But like everybody, there were ups and downs. And yeah, Christmas was always my favourite time of year, hence why I've probably gone into making Christmas movies.
Yeah. So do you think your parents influenced you in those childhood years to what you do today in any way?
Only in as much as I like comedy and I create comedy, and they were inherently funny people. And in life, I think you sort of learn about characters through the people that you mix with and spend most of your time with. So I think my sort of comic sensibility came from them, but they certainly didn't ever work in the industry or anything like that. So yeah, not in that way, but they influenced me just because they were larger than life characters and really fun. So I suppose that's where I've been influenced most by them.
So as a child, what was your dream job?
I don't think I knew really what I wanted to do. I wasn't particularly academic at school, but I did like creative writing. I always wrote poems and stories, and I enjoyed doing the school plays and things like that. But I don't think I thought for a minute that that's something I would do as a career or as a living when I was young. By the time I got to secondary school, I was kind of having quite a difficult time at school, and I didn't go to school a lot of the time because I suppose I didn't settle down very well. I was a bit of a rebel and hated maths and science and all of that. So again, the thing that sort of saved me was school plays. I did some dancing in my spare time, and so I suppose performing was always there, but it just never occurred to me that it could be something I did as a living. I mean, I suppose if you'd asked me, would you like to be on stage, I'd have said yes, but no one ever asked me, so I never really thought about it very much.
Yeah, so after school, what did you do? What was the journey?
Yeah, well, I tried to be a normal kind of 16-year-old working class girl from Birmingham and get a job, and earn some money, but it didn't go very well. And actually, I found that I wasn't very good in the real world at all. And I actually got the sack about 5 times between the ages of 16 and 17, which is quite an achievement, isn't it? I was sort of proud of it in a way. I just was hopeless at everything. Every job I tried, I was rubbish, and that's the truth. And I think my mum eventually said to me, the only thing you've ever been good at is writing and acting. So I think you should go to drama school. And that thought had never occurred to me before. But I went and auditioned at the Coventry School of Theatre, which was just up the road, and got in and realised then that of course that's where I should be, and it, my life changed overnight.
Yeah. So by that point in drama school, was it just like acting, or had you found your passion yet for like writing and directing?
Well, it was a performing arts school, so we did everything. I mean, we did mime, we did singing, we did filmmaking, we did acting, we did a bit of everything really. It was an incredibly progressive course, and a lot of the tutors that taught us were working at RADA and Central, and they get the train up to Coventry and teach us. So we were very blessed, although, we were working class kids who, everybody on our course was in the same boat. We were all from similar backgrounds, and nobody knew anybody in the industry or anything like that. We were taught by some great professionals. So very lucky, and I came out of that feeling like I'd had a really rounded education in the performing arts, and quite quickly I kind of realised that being a jobbing actor or being a jobbing anything was only going to end up the same way as it had when I was trying to be a receptionist or a shop assistant, or I was just going to either not get the job or get the sack. I needed to be in control of my own destiny, because that's the way my brain and character works. So I did get a job actually when I left college at the Cambridge Experimental Theatre Company, and I did Shakespeare for 18 months, and we toured all over Europe. So it was a great initiation into being an actor. But quite quickly after that job finished, I thought, I don't want to audition. I don't want to work for anyone else. And anyway, even if I got the part, there probably isn't a great part for a young woman. Like there aren't that many brilliant roles for young women. There certainly weren't then. There aren't now. So I thought I'd best off writing myself something. If I want to be an actor and I want to make theatre, I'm probably gonna write something for myself and put myself in it, and probably direct myself and take myself off to Edinburgh, which is what I did. So I started a theatre company, and we went to Edinburgh Festival, and we did that for a few years, and we won lots of awards and got lots of recognition, and got sent to London, and then things changed again, and it was really hard, and we were very poor, but we managed to sort of get on a big touring circuit on the international festival circuit. So we then ended up doing my plays and productions in Australia and New Zealand, and all over the world actually for many years. So I did that for years, good 10-15 years. I toured with my plays in a company, which is a good training. Yeah
I suppose that's quite intense, just like touring all the time.
It's like being in a circus. It really was. It was like and I know it makes me sound even older, but we had no mobile phones. Our communication with all our families was very limited when we were away. It was phone boxes home, reverse the charges, postcards. It was a crazy time, and we didn't earn much money at all, and so we sort of lived hand to mouth. We were learning. We felt like we were still learning our craft. We were in front of different kinds of audiences, and because I was making kind of still comedy, but comedies with a darker edge back then, comedies about domestic violence, about things like that, some serial killer, kind of quite dark stuff, but black comedies. But to be honest, the audiences taught me how to write comedy, because obviously if they didn't laugh, it wasn't working. I had to go and figure it out and come back and do it again. So I felt like I had a really brilliant training in, particularly in comedy, but in writing plays generally. And then, of course, I decided, I can't keep doing this because it's hard labor and just touring all over the world year on year on year on year and having nothing to show for it. And every time the show finished, you burn the set and say goodbye, and I just thought, I want to do something else. I want to make films. I want to have something that stays with me, that I can keep hold of and watch and rewatch. So that's what I decided to do, come home and retrain, I suppose, start again in a way in film.
Yeah, so how was that transition into films from stage? Because as you said, it's a different form, really. I'm guessing, really, of writing.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, at a certain point when I was young, my dad opened one of the first video libraries, and a little one, but videos were just coming in, and I worked in his shop because nobody else would employ me, and I watched every film that came in. So that years and years before, that had been my sort of film school, and I loved film, and I'd used it in my productions, as even with the lighting of my theatre shows and the sort of the way that the plays were written and structured were very filmic. We used lots of visual techniques, lots of ideas that were just very filmic and very short scenes, and it was kind of like an edited movie on stage. So actually for me, the transition didn't feel very alien. Having said that, obviously theatre's a live experience and film is something I'd never done, never made one. So I made short films to start with, and that became my training, my way of training into film, and built up to a feature film, my first feature film. So that's kind of how I did it. And I think lots of people were saying, oh, you can't come from theatre into film, that it's too different. But for me, what seemed important, the most important thing, was the story, that you're still storytelling. So as long as I could tell the story, the form, just adapted. It was just an adaptation thing.
Yeah. So you went on to adapt the Jacqueline Wilson story, The Illustrated Mum, into like a TV film. So how did that happen?
Yeah, well, I was asked to do that. So I think I'd made a couple of feature films by that time, and then I was asked by the production company to, if I would consider writing it, and I'm not sure why they asked me, to be honest. I don't know, but what I do know is that I read that book, that Jacqueline Wilson book, as an adult, and I absolutely loved it and would recommend it to adults and young people alike and children alike. It was a profoundly moving story about two little girls and their mum who has bipolar, and so they suffered from neglect, really, and not through any fault of the mums, but just the way the world works. And it was deeply moving, and so I couldn't wait to write it. I just thought, this is a dream of a job. Talk about chase your dream. It was a gift, actually. And Jacqueline Wilson, as we know, is a brilliant writer, prolific writer, but I just felt very lucky to have been given that opportunity, and I really, really felt connected to the two children, particularly the two daughters in the story, and yes, loved it, and won my BAFTA for it. So it was fantastic moment for me.
Yeah, like you said, so you went on to win a BAFTA and an international Emmy for that
Yes,
film. How
yeah.
did that feel to get like those big awards?
It was unreal. Like, it was amazing. Like, I was so used to, like, just working for myself, keeping my head down, sort of getting on with doing my stuff, that I never really expected to enter the industry in such a way, I suppose, that never thought I'd be sort of noticed in that way. And it was wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. So you also around probably was it a similar time you also made your film Confetti?
Yeah. So
So if people don't know, what was that about? And was that kind of one of the first like steps towards like having these big successful films?
Yeah, I think that was my first successful film. I'd made a film before that called Nasty Neighbours, which was shot in Birmingham on a really shoestring budget. And it had been an amazing, my first feature film, it had been an amazing experience. And I learned so much through that film. And it had a limited cinema release. It did get a cinema release, and we were all very proud of it. But when I made Confetti, which is a wedding comedy inspired by my own sister's wedding, I actually couldn't believe that. Again, it was made on quite a low budget, but it was BBC Films who were one of the financiers, and they, they really sort of liked what I'd done with Nasty Neighbours, and they liked what I'd done with a little trailer I'd made on Confetti to try and pitch it to them. And they and I wanted to make it as a mock documentary. So they were very supportive, and I made this film, and I didn't realize that they were going to sell it on before it was even finished. They sold it to Fox, 20th Century Fox, to Fox Searchlight, who are a big American studio. So suddenly I found myself no longer talking just to the BBC. I was now talking to these American execs at this major studio. And so I was sort of flung into this world that I was not expecting to be part of, with this little film that we had to sort of try and elevate, really. We did our best, and it did really well at the box office, at the UK box office, and we had just the most amazing actors in it. We had a fantastic cast. That's where I first worked with Martin Freeman. We had Olivia Colman, we had Jessica Hines. We just had brilliant people in it. Jason Watkins, amazing comic actors, and yeah, it did really well. So yeah, crazy times.
Yeah. Then you went on to create, write, and direct some of the most popular British Christmas films, the Nativity film series, with the first being released in 2009. So, where did that idea first come from?
So yeah, I was literally watching my daughter's nativity play in her primary Catholic school, which was not unlike the school that's in the film. And the children were just hilarious. They were just making me laugh, just being themselves, getting things wrong as they can do, singing too loud, singing off key, just losing their props, making up their own stuff that clearly wasn't scripted. I loved watching the teacher, a male teacher in the primary school, who had this really ambitious vision for this production, and I loved watching his stress, and he was kind of living it with the children as they were performing, and I just thought, this is hilarious. It's like he could be at the RSC, but we're in this tiny little primary school. And I loved hearing the parents in the playground sort of arguing a little bit about who should or shouldn't have got the main parts, and being really competitive in their feeling about that. And I just thought, this is a great idea for a movie. Like, I felt like I hadn't seen it before, that I'd lived it and I knew what it was, the school nativity. I've been in them myself at school, but I just thought, I don't think I've seen a movie about this. And it's a hotbed of just drama, comedy, kind of can make you laugh, can make you cry. I just felt like, yeah, this could be a nice Christmas film. So I went back to the BBC and said, you just did Confetti with me. How do you fancy this idea? And I went into a school in Coventry, the school we ended up filming in, and did some little improvisations with some of the children, and got Mark Wootton, who plays Mr. Poppy, to come in and work with the children, and created another little trailer, just like 5 minutes, and presented that to the BBC and said, what do you think about making this as a Christmas film? And they said, oh, looks sweet and funny. Yeah, let's do it. So like we did it, and I used a lot of improvisation in my work. So the children didn't have to learn any lines or anything like that. The actors didn't have to learn any lines either. So that we just sort of, I knew the story, but they get to, use a lot of their own words, which is really fun as well. But I don't think any of us expected it to be the success it was. Definitely we didn't, actually. And the idea that there would be another 3 films after that and a musical, nobody could have told me that. I'd have just said, no, that's ridiculous. I just thought it would be, end up playing 1 year, on the cinema, and that would be it. So
Yeah.
15 years later, you know, it's still in the top 10 on Netflix. It's still, you know, on every Christmas, and people still love it. So I'm really, really overjoyed about it.
Yeah. So you said about how it's quite improvisational. So how do you approach like writing improvisational scripts while ensuring like your narrative and your story remains cohesive and like
Yeah, because I write it like a book, really. You know, I write the story, I write dialogue in the story. I know exactly what that is. It's so I don't bother scripting it out as a format, but it's written. It's all written. The only thing is, no one else sees it. So I've seen it, I wrote it, and I know what I want, but no one else has. No, we don't have any scripts on set, so they don't see it. So all I do is basically say, this is what's going to happen. You know, you can say stuff like this, but feel free to use your own words if you want to. But this is what it is, you know. So, and it works beautifully. That yeah.
so no like specific lines at all, just like
Oh,
fully
sometimes,
improv.
yeah, sometimes. I mean, I'll read my dialogue out and I'll go, this is sort of the scene. I'll probably read, if I don't read it, then I'll tell them what it is, and then can't, you know, you need to get really angry and say something like, you know, you're doing my Sweden, mate, you know, something like that. But you can use your own version of that. I mean, just don't be tied to anything, but this is how angry you get, and this is what you do. You know, you walk out at the end of it, you know, you slam the door on him. So it's quite specific, but there's an opportunity there to just use your language, so you're not sort of trying to use mine, you know.
I suppose that makes it feel more like realistic to the audience.
Yeah, it feels real to the actors. It feels realer to me. You know, as I've said before, when I've been asked about making Nativity, you know, particularly the kids, they didn't really know they were in a film. You know, they because they called Mr. Madden's Mr. Madden, they didn't know who Martin was. You know, and they just thought he was a teacher, and they thought Mark was a classroom
Wow.
assistant. They just got on with it. You know, so I was able to say to the kids, you know, or as to say to Martin, go and ask her why she doesn't want to do the play, and see what she says, you know. So he would just go, why don't you want to be in it? And so she says, I feel silly in the costume. Kids just made their own
Oh, wow.
thing up, you know. But
Yeah.
it was very truthful for them because they were living it, you know. They thought they
Yeah.
were putting on the show, they thought Hollywood were coming, they believed in it all.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was great.
Yeah. So obviously the film set in Coventry, you filmed it in Coventry. So why did you choose Coventry to set the Nativity?
I mean, just because I live in Coventry, that's where I live, and that's where my daughter went to school when I saw this thing, and I just thought, this is it. This is what I want. I want the truth, and I want the sort of raw material. I don't want to sort of elevate it or set it somewhere where there's sort of baggage, you know. Set it in London. Why? You know, the North. Well, I'm not from the North. You know, I wanted it to be authentic to me and my experience. And to be honest, you know, the West Midlands is so underrepresented in film, and I didn't think I'd ever seen a movie with Coventry at the centre. And we had, you know, this wonderful cathedral ruins in Coventry, and I knew quite early on that I wanted this moment of the angel Gabriel flying from the cathedral spire. And so, I mean, we're better to set it than that.
Yeah. So you were talking about how you didn't expect it to be a success. So what was the point where a sequel got talked about and that was like a thing that could happen?
Well, you know, it's funny because nobody. There's this great saying in our industry, which is nobody knows anything, and that's so true. And we none of us knew what anyone would make of this film, and then slowly but surely, it started to become apparent that people were really liking it. And you know, me and my partner, who edited the film and wrote the songs with me, we went on Christmas Eve actually to the local Odeon just to watch it, and people were crying, you know, and really moved. So I thought, okay, there's proper feeling from an audience. This isn't, you know, a flippant thing. They really care about this film. So the box office reflected that. You know, it did really well. And yeah, I mean, back to BBC, you know, and said, how are you feeling about doing another one? I'd actually written a whole, this is, I don't think I've ever said this before, but I'd written a whole Nativity 2 for Martin, for Mr. Madden's and Jennifer, a whole sequel. And I was expecting to do that, and it was set in Lapland, actually. And of course, just as I was about to pitch that, he got Lord of the Rings, which was life-changing for Martin. And obviously he was going to be going to New Zealand for 3 years to film Lord of the Rings. So I thought, I can't wait for 3 years. You know, I need to crack on and do my thing. So then I wrote another sequel with a new teacher who ended up being David Tennant. It's brilliant, Mr. Peterson, and his identical twin, Roderick. Wow. So yeah, that's what happened.
So it could have looked incredibly different.
Oh yes, it did look incredibly different, but it was an exciting opportunity to see what would happen if a new teacher came in. And then of course that became the format in a way. So Nativity 3, there'd always be a new teacher now, and that worked, you know, because it freshened it up, and it made every film a kind of standalone thing, and you didn't ever have to see the first one to see the second one or the third one, you know, so that was helpful too. But yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, so like one of the big parts of Nativity is like the songs. So did you expect, I suppose, the success of the songs? I know, like I always see them on TikTok loads.
Yeah.
Oh, I always see what is it? It's Mr. Poppy. There's a clip saying it's Nativity, it's not like a 3D and whatever. I always see that clip as well. And all the songs sparkle and shine. So did you ever expect that success of it?
No, I mean, absolutely not. I mean, you know, writing the songs was really fun, but literally trying to keep things authentic, you know, trying to make it feel like teachers could have written these songs, make sure that the children could sing them, you know, and make sure they were poppy and lively so that the children enjoyed putting that show on, was all it was about. You know, there was no sense of there'd be a soundtrack, or that people would be singing in the car driving their kids to school. Like, I didn't think about any of that. It was just to serve the story and make it feel authentic. So the fact that, again, yes, you say, we have billions of like TikTok versions of these songs, young people generally performing them in their living rooms every Christmas, and it's brilliant. I love it. Yeah, sparkle and shine, baby.
Yeah. So as you've said before, undoubtedly the stars of the film are the school pupils. So how was that? How was the casting of them?
Well, it was really great, because I decided straight away that we wanted to do open casting. We didn't want to go to agents and get agented, you know, stage school children. So we just opened the doors and you know, had people come in their droves to be in a film. Obviously they didn't know the film, so they didn't know what they were coming for, but there were sort of queues, that whole thing of queues around the block, and then they come in, we'd do a workshop, the next lot would come in, we'd do a workshop. And then I went into schools as well and cast from, you know, just sort of talking to children, or doing some really mini audition moments with them, and gathered the group together, you know, and it was yeah, again, very authentic. As I said, a lot of them didn't know they were even in a film, really, so it was lovely.
Yeah. And they say never work with animals or kids.
Yes.
You worked with both over the films. So how was that?
It's brilliant, because you know, it's circus again, and I think I am a circus person, really, and the more chaos the better. You know, it's like, right, bring the camels in now. You know, it's like, how far can we push this? It just, things will happen if you bring animals and you bring children. Bad things will happen in a good way. You know, and you will find comedy and drama, and it serves the story. You know, we all know the nativity scene is about, you know, donkeys, and the wise men were on camels, and so you know, it calls for animals, but children and animals rarely do what you ask them to do, and that's the beauty of it. You know, they surprise you and sometimes frustrate you, but on the whole, they're just so entertaining. I'd much rather work with children and animals than anyone else.
Yeah. So as you said before, the like improvisational, how you write the story. So how long does it take to get a script together?
It sort of keeps going really. So I don't really write as I don't write a script at all. But when I write the story, I don't sort of have a separate moment where I go, okay, that's the story done. So now we'll start making the film. It keeps going. I just keep writing all the way through, or I can adapt my story. As I'm casting, I'll think, oh, I'll adapt that now because we've got this actor, so I might put this role in, or this actor's interested, so we might do this, and I change it, and then we'll get to the locations, and I'll have an idea about that, and I just keep changing it and changing it and changing it all the way through production, all the way through the edit. It's still writing through the edit, so it never stops. I mean, I suppose it might take 6 months to get to a position where you're ready to shoot, but with all the pre-production as well. That's finding the actors, finding the locations, hiring all the crew, all of that. And then it only takes 6 weeks to film. And then because of the improvisational nature of the films, it takes 6 to 9 months to edit. So it's a couple of years to make a film, really.
Yeah. And so what was your favorite part about making a film? Like, what's the favorite part of the process?
I think because I do get kind of bored quite easily, and I think I do like the fact that it keeps moving and changing, that there's lots of different parts of the process. So I love that you're very free creative bit right at the beginning when you have ideas and you're thinking of titles and you're sort of just musing about what kind of things might happen, to the pre-production, which is very intensive, and you work very hard and you're out in the fields all the time, mostly on location, looking for the right places. Casting is entertaining in its own way, and shooting is really hard. I mean, that's proper punishing because the hours are so long. It's usually freezing cold. You're on your feet all the time. You have to answer millions of questions. So I suppose in some ways the most comfortable bit is the edit, because that's when you're home sitting in the warm, as I work with my partner. That's a nice safe space for me to be. And then after the edit, it's the post-production as well, which is like doing the sound, recording the songs. It's all lovely. It's hard, but some of it is harder than other. That pre-production and shooting is the hardest bit.
So I hope you're enjoying the interview so far. We've got some more great guests coming up for you in 2025. So please do subscribe. How do you feel about like Nativity becoming such a central part of Christmas traditions for some people in the UK, with people watching it year in, year out, and like getting into the Christmas spirit with Nativity, watching it on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day? How does that all feel?
I mean, it feels amazing because I do genuinely love Christmas and always have. It is like a really extra special feeling for me. It's not like I didn't really like Christmas, but I just thought I'd make a movie about it. I love Christmas. I love the fact that, and I think one of the reasons that Nativity kind of does affect people so positively is because it's not about Christmas shopping and Christmas presents. It's not about money. It's about other values. It's about hope and triumph over adversity and believing in yourself, and self-confidence and love, and trying to win back your love and all of those things. So it's the sentiments are really lovely and really work for that time of year. We have so many amazing Christmas films at our disposal, and I devour them all. I'm a great lover of Alf and all the Richard Curtis movies, and The Holiday I love. There's so many Christmas films that I love. I can't wait for the Jack Black, the new sort of almost Bad Santa film that's coming out as well, where he's Satan pretending to be Santa. That looks amazing. Like I love Christmas. I love Christmas comedies. I love Christmas films. The idea of our film being a part of that tapestry is so exciting to me. It never gets old. I'm always thrilled. Every year I get excited that it's back. And the feedback I get, is just phenomenal. It makes me really happy, and it's a real legacy that I'm really proud of, but I'm also really, really proud of all the children that have been in these films. There's been hundreds of them, and some of them have gone on to have astonishing careers. And I just love the fact that so many of them have stayed friends, that they had a really special experience in their life, that their parents, because they were where they were in Coventry and never had any hope of being in a movie, that so many of them have gone on to be in a movie, and that's their little claim to fame for the rest of their lives, and they can show their kids and grandkids. And I just think that's probably the thing that makes me the happiest of all. But yeah, love it.
Yeah, it must be such a special feeling. So what is your favorite scene from all of the Nativity films?
Well, there's been a lot of scenes, but I think my favorite scene is the scene that I think a lot of people really like from the first Nativity, which is when the children do their audition for Mr. Poppy and Mr. Madden's. And the reason I love that scene so much is because the children just did what they did. What you see is what they gave me. Single takes, like we didn't get them to do it over and over. We didn't tell them what to do. The night before the scene was shot, I just asked the children to have a think about any songs they knew or really liked, or any dancing they wanted to do, or any moves they knew, or if they had any magic tricks or whatever they wanted, to come and audition to see if they could be in the show, in the film, at the end of the film. And so what they brought to me was what we filmed, and it's just so authentic. And all of the grown-ups, the cast and the crew, were all crying with laughter that day watching those auditions, and I just love remembering filming them really when I watch that. So it is my favorite scene. I love it.
Yeah. So if you if you could be any character in the films, which character would you be?
I think I probably channel Mr. Poppy more than any of the other characters, because I do feel like that anarchic sort of catalyst for change, that person that Mr. Poppy is, who believes in everyone's unique talents and ability, really is me. That is who I am and what I do believe. And the message that comes out of Mr. Poppy's mouth is my message, which is everyone is as valuable as everyone else, and everyone can sparkle and shine, and everyone has unique gifts and talents, and you must believe in yourself and not be down on yourself, and be a positive force for change. And that's Mr. Poppy, and that's me, and we're a bit synonymous really.
Yeah. So some quick fire. What's your favorite? So what's your favorite Nativity song, and what's your favorite Nativity film?
Well, the song, I think I'm torn between two Nativity songs. One is Sparkle and Shine, because I'm all about that. I'm all about the Sparkle and Shine, and the kids love to sing it, and it's really feel good, and yeah, gets you sort of bopping around the place. The other one is One Night, One Moment, because it takes you to a very different place emotionally, and it's very moving, and it's about the power of change. And yeah, it makes me cry actually. One Night, One Moment. But so one to make me laugh and sing and dance, and one to make me cry. Which is my favorite film? That's a bit like choosing my favorite child. Luckily, I've only got one child, and she's absolutely beautiful, so I always choose her. But if I had more than one child, it would be very wrong of me to pick a favorite. So I try not to do that with the films. However, having said that, the original Nativity will always be the original Nativity, the firstborn. So yeah, if I had to, I'd have to say the original film.
Yeah. And then you went on to adapt Nativity for the stage. So why did you decide to do that, and how did that differ from writing for the musical, for the film, sorry?
I think Nativity the musical on stage was something I always wanted to do, because people kept saying to me, that would make a great stage show. Your film would make a great stage show. And I thought, yeah, of course it would, really, because it's a classic idea of people trying to put on a show. The show within the show has done really well in musicals for years, and half the songs were already written. So what was really exciting for me was the idea of writing new songs for the adult characters who never got to sing in the films. The singing is always done by the children in the films. So suddenly I could asked myself, what would a Mr. Poppy song sound like, and when would he sing and why? And if Mr. Madden's, needed to sing to Jennifer, or they had to do a duet, what song would that be? And it was just such an appealing idea that I could get to write those characters through song and perhaps mine their emotional depth more through music. So it was a very appealing idea, and it has been a tremendously fantastic experience putting on the show and having it come back year after year with the brilliant cast that come and do it with me year after year. So yeah, it's been a smash hit. Yay. Nativity the musical. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So fictionally, if you were to revisit the world of Nativity in 10 years, how do you think the characters' lives might have evolved?
I mean, I don't think they would be all that different. As in, I think Mr. Madden's would probably still be a teacher, but he would probably have a family of his own now, hopefully with Jennifer. Maybe lots of children, driving him mad, making him grumpy again. But I think Mr. Poppy should be in Australia still, as he left for Australia at the end of Nativity 3. I don't think he's come back. And he would be there with the dingoes and the kangaroos and the wallabies and the possums and the koalas instead of the donkeys and the pigs and the sheep. And so he would be having a ball, and I would be delighted to encounter Mr. Poppy down under and work with Australian children. So it's something I'd love to do, actually, Nativity Down Under. I have thought about it quite a lot, but there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah. So you also went on to do lots of stuff outside of Nativity, and you went on to write and direct Nativity's Christmas on Mistletoe Farm, which was released in 2022. So why did you decide to return to Christmas films, and what was the process of that film like?
Well, Netflix actually invited me to make a Christmas film for them because Nativity's done so well on Netflix. They wanted a fresh Christmas film from me for in the same kind of feel. So not a school, but something different. And I just thought, oh, a farm would be amazing because I get to work with my children and my animals, my little piglets and little goat kids. Set it on a farm. I came up with a story that we both, Netflix and I, really liked, and so it was just the most magical time, actually. Again, great cast, a lot of whom had been in Nativity the musical on stage, so a lot of theatre people in Mistletoe Farm doing their amazing work, and it was it was so fun to make. And what's really lovely is having like Nativity and Mistletoe Farm on Netflix every Christmas now. School or farm, you decide. It's really nice. It's brilliant having those films, and having all the films are on at some point over Christmas. So there's like 5 Christmas films that I've made that are on, like one's on Tuesday, one's next Thursday, one's on Christmas Eve, one's and it's crazy. Like, it's crazy for me. Christmas is crazy for me, but I love it. I love that everyone that's worked on these films and the show. There's either a show or a film, that we've worked on, and it's brilliant. What fun.
Yeah. And then just last year, you also wrote and directed the musical I Should Be So Lucky, which went on a UK tour and uses music from Kylie Minogue, Rick Astley. So what was that about, and how did that happen?
So again, I was invited to do that by the producers, ATG Productions. The music of Stock Aitken Waterman, as you say, had all these massive hits with these brilliant pop stars like Rick and Kylie, and they just wanted me to write a story that would work for the songs, around the songs, and direct the musical. And so that's what I did. And got to work with Kylie, which was amazing. So she's actually in the show. She's in the mirror in the show. So she came into rehearsal. We worked with Kylie. I wrote her scenes, and we filmed her. And she's in the show a lot, actually, a lot more than people think. And it was, it was lots of fun. It was a massive show, big tour, lots of brilliant actors and singers and dancers, great choreography. Jason Gilkerson, who's the main choreographer for Strictly Come Dancing, did the choreography. It was a great bells and whistles show, which we hope will come back. Maybe even next year, we don't know yet. But yeah, it was super. I'm busy, aren't I? I've been busy. I need to slow down.
Yeah. So being the director, do you like go out on tour with the cast, or do you just like direct in rehearsals until the opening?
Yeah, no, most directors do that, and I should do that, but I do go out on tour. I don't go to every show, but I go to almost every venue. So I like to see it up in its different venue, and I like to hear different audiences, and I like to, especially because I make new work. It's not like I'm putting on a Shakespeare or something that's been on before. It's brand new, so you do need to test it with your audiences. And I like to go to the toilet in the interval and listen to what people are saying about it, and I learn a lot. And I need that, as an artist, and I'm very much a bit of a control freak, so I don't like to walk away and let it go, and I'm scared it will get bad, so I go to try and keep the quality high to motivate the cast. They work so hard, but they need a bit of motivation sometimes because it's hard work touring, and I should know, I did it for years. So for all those reasons, I go as much as I can.
Yeah, that must be intense. Again, need a rest.
I do. I need a cup of tea, for sure.
So I've got a few final last questions. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to go into writing and directing?
Well, I mean, in a way, if it's in you, you will find a way to do it, and you will just do it, because it's almost not sort of a decision that you make, like, oh, I think I might one day. It's a calling, it's a vocation. It is like all those wonderful people that do nursing and things like that. If it's in you, you will do it. So I mean, advice is kind of a little bit useless. Just do it, is my 3 words. Just do it.
Yeah, would you say that a similar thing to anyone who's trying to chase their dream generally?
Yeah, because dreams are about being kind of passive. The chase thing is the active thing. So I think dream at night, chase by day, you might just get there.
Yeah. I think that's great. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know you're busy at the moment because it's coming to Christmas, so thank you again. So I hope you enjoyed the interview. Thank you again to Debbie for letting me interview her. And as today is the Christmas special of the podcast, that is why I'm wearing my Christmas jumper. We have got the Christmas tree out. I decided to include some Christmas questions that I have asked Debbie and also guests from the past few months. So here they are. What is your favourite Christmas song?
Mariah Carey. I'm trying to remember what it's called. All I Want for Christmas is You. Yeah, that one.
Favourite Christmas song? Probably All I Want for Christmas is You by Mariah Carey. Pretty good song.
Favorite Christmas song. Oh, I'm taking too long to answer because there's so many in my head. Winter Wonderland, probably. I'm a pianist as well. I like to play the piano, and that's a really fun one to play on the piano.
Ever, my favorite Christmas song ever. Wow, I think probably something like an old-fashioned ballady one, like Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I think it probably is that.
What is your favourite Christmas film?
Apart from Nativity and Christmas so far, I would say my favourite Christmas film to date is Elf.
What is your favourite part of a Christmas lunch / dinner?
I guess just getting together as a family and having a good time.
I love all of it. The turkey, the potatoes, the cauliflower cheese, just everything.
Well, I'm a pescatarian, so I don't get to eat the meat that everyone has at Christmas. So for me, it's the fairly boring answer of Yorkshire puddings. Love the Yorkshire pudding. Love a vegan nut roast. I always feel a bit left out at Christmas dinner. I always feel a bit like, it's not for me. I'm just having my nut roast.
Turkey, the turkey and stuffing, that's Christmas, because everything else you can have any time of year, but the turkey and stuffing is Christmas, so I love that. Yeah.
What Christmas family traditions do you have?
Not really, I guess. Feels like we're always skiing on Christmas, and most of the years we'll have a nut roast for because we're all vegetarian, so we'll have a nut roast instead for dinner. Yeah,
our traditions are quite basic, honestly. Yeah, we don't really have any traditions, honestly.
Oh, we have loads. We have a CD of Christmas #1 music that is always played. My brother always gets up first, puts that on really loud, so the whole house is woken up by these Christmas songs. And we all get up and we open our presents together. My mum puts out stockings. It's all very traditional. We have these big stockings. There's always a satsuma at the bottom of the stocking. That's a tradition that is, I think, very old-fashioned tradition. You have all these toys and games and things, and then you have a satsuma at the bottom. Little things like that. We all get together on Boxing Day and play games. We do sort of Taskmaster-esque games on Boxing Day at my brother's house. That's a new tradition that we've done the last few years, and that's getting more popular in the family. We do things like blind cocktail mixing. You have two people sit opposite each other and they have blindfolds on and they have all the different alcohols in front of them, and they have to mix a cocktail without knowing what they're putting into it, and then they have to drink it, and it has to like judges drink it and see which is better.
Just getting together, that's all. Like, we don't really have anything other than that. We just always get together. I've never not been with my family on Christmas Day for the food bit. Like, we're always together. Like, yeah, it's so precious. That
is Christmas your favorite holiday and time of year?
Yeah, because the feeling, when you wake up and on Christmas it's always snowing most of the time, at least. Christmas, it just feels like a nice time. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Christmas is Christmas. It's great, and winter's also amazing. But also, my birthday is exactly a week before Christmas, so I always look forward to the winter holiday.
Christmas is my favorite holiday. I love Christmas. I get really into it. I love all the Christmas spirit. I love the movies. I love the music. I love the games. My favorite time of year, though, is summer, because I am not about the cold. I really hate the cold. I'm such a fan of just sun and heat all the time.
One of my questions is Christmas your favourite holiday and time of year? But I think we've already established that you love Christmas.
Well, let's hope so, because otherwise I'm doing a lot of stuff I don't like. Yeah. is the best. It's the best.
What is your favourite thing about Christmas?
I could say to spend time with my family, but I'm always with my family anyways. It's not going to be that. I guess changing my mindset from not being, fully focused in skiing and just having a good time and letting loose, relaxing a bit. Yeah.
Do you get much of a break for Christmas?
I guess we get like a week of no races, but not really, no.
Seeing family, the food. Also, presents. Obviously presents. Why didn't I say that?
Favorite thing about Christmas? I'm a bit of a sucker for the traditions as well. I mean, it's driven by my mum because she's very traditional, loves a traditional sort of Victorian Christmas, but she's lured me into that now. I really like when we all get together on Christmas Eve. Usually someone will read The Night Before Christmas as the little kids go to sleep. We'll have a crackling log fire. We'll turn the lights down. We'll all eat chocolates and play games. I really love that. It's very twee, but I enjoy it.
I just think the magic, will it snow? Carol singing, peace and love and goodwill to all, the magic in Christmas, people being happier than they might be. Not all people. And sometimes it's a very sad time of year, I lost my dad fairly recently, and it's very sad sometimes to think about at Christmas time. But there's always hope at Christmas, and, the stars twinkle brighter. And I just think the idea that everyone is kinder is what I hang on to and what I love about it the most. Kindness.
So I hope you enjoyed those Christmas questions, and as it is the Christmas special, this is the last podcast episode of the year, so thank you for supporting the Chase That Dream podcast over 2024. We've got a great 2025 planned for you with some incredible guests, hopefully every single month. So we will be back in January, but for now, goodbye and Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.